So we do have the overlapping fair value gap and breaker. So we were just targeting the draw on liquidity if we couldn't get 2R with the 2 standard deviations. This would be a limit order and really nice move to the downside. I think we definitely need to target this high for the 2 to 1. Let's see if we can just catch a market entry right at open with this unicorn model. So we had the draw in place. We'd had a manipulation a little bit earlier that formed the unicorn model. Nice win for this one. So I know it is a profitable model, and as you can see, just in this first run through without really a whole lot of optimizations, almost 55% win rate, 2.33 average R. What's up, guys? So a few months ago we did a video on the unicorn model with ES on the 5-minute time frame, where I kind of went over the strategy PDF for you guys. Generally, we're targeting relative equal highs or equal lows for draws and liquidity with some sort of manipulation leg and overlapping breaker and fair value gap. You can watch that video back to like see the full description, but that's kind of high level what we're looking for. But unfortunately, we were only able to get through like 8 trades when we did that test, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity. I was seeing some comments in the chat. Can we see larger sample size? So I figured today, I see how long it takes me, but I'm gonna try and get through 100 trades with this unicorn model, so we can have maybe a little more detail in the analytics. So I'm just gonna pick a random date in the last 2.5 years, give us at least a little bit of runway to try and get the 100 trades we need. So I just found a random date generator online. So it gave us August 7th, 2024. So I'll come in here. I've got my session created here. So I'm gonna start this August 2024. Sorry. August 7th, 2024, and I'll start like earlier in the day. Okay, and yeah, we'll see how long it takes us to get through 100 trades. Hopefully this will give us at least enough room to do it. So I've got the session created. I'm gonna come in here and I'll delete all my previous drawings that I had in here. So I'm gonna copy this. We'll say this is 100 trades. Got that, delete all my previous drawings. The only indicators we have on this, yeah, I'm not even using any any indicators on this. I'm pretty much just drawing draws and liquidity. If I see something, I think I usually like to use like the light blue. So I'm going to use this for draws and liquidity, and then I've got my kind of manipulation standard deviation sets when I need to draw the manipulation leg to project out our take profits. These are kind of the levels I have, and I'm just using one color with no background. So that's really all I need for this, and we're just going to be trading New York session. So I'll just go right into next session. Let me just make sure, okay, starting at 9:30, and let's get started. So coming to this first day, we have some relative equal highs up here, and actually there's relative equal lows down here. So I think this is a clear draw down here. These relative equal lows, these aren't quite relative equal. I think this is a clear draw. So let's see if we can get a unicorn model shift in line with what we're looking for. Nothing yet. Okay. So I believe we have our unicorn model shift right here now. We have a break in structure here. So we had a breaker. I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better. All right. So we had a bearish breaker here, and we also have a fair value gap that overlaps it. So our manipulation leg we can kind of take from the impulse to the bottom. So this would be our 2 standard deviations. Our draw on liquidity is all the way down here, so it's pretty far away. So let's see if we can use this. I was using the bodies before when I first tested this. This is going to be a pretty ambitious trade. I'm definitely probably not going to hold this all the way down here. Maybe we'll just go for this kind of intermediate target just to get our feet wet with the first trade. So I'll do a buy limit. I don't think I was using any entry triggers for this. So we can just go for it as is. Unfortunately, first trade was a loss. All right, so coming to this next day, we still have these relative equal lows below, but they're pretty far away. Let's see if there's anything else more local for us to look for. There's some relative equal lows here, but they're pretty close to price. We need to see something a little further away. This is probably the closest one I can see. These lows are pretty close to each other, so maybe this is a good draw on liquidity for shorts. So as we come into New York Open, let's see if we have the unicorn model in play. We have a breaker here that's going to last red candle before we closed below, and there was also a fair value gap overlapping it. So we do have the unicorn model in place. We've already had the retest, but we haven't been trading until New York Open, so it's kind of right at open. I prefer. maybe to not trade right at open, but we'll give it a shot with a stop at the body high. And I think the 2 standard deviations would not give us 2R, so we'll go ahead and target these relative equal lows below. The potential 3.5R trade. We'll save and we'll see. Hopefully we get a dump at New York Open. Nice. That's perfect. So nice 3.5R. Made up for the couple losses from the previous couple days ago. All right, so coming into this session, we have the 1 hour high still in play, so we can still potentially have that as the targets. Not really seeing any relative equal lows. We actually took some out right here with a little bit of a manipulation leg here. So yeah, it's pretty likely we'll tag this pretty early in the session. Maybe we'll see if we can just retest this initial kind of unicorn model entry right here. So we had this breaker, and did we have, yeah, we had fair value gap overlapping with it before. So the entry for this would have been kind of during late London session, but we'll see if we can hop in and join it. If we get a retest of the breaker, stop at the body low, see if we can target out this high, yeah, for pretty much a 2-to-1. And yeah, the manipulation leg, 2 standard deviations, a little short, but I think we can probably target this high and see if we can get tagged in after New York Open with this initial manipulation leg we had here before we hit the targets. All right, so we got tagged in. There's our win. So yeah, right idea. Just we had to be a little creative with this one and identify this kind of manipulation. We had these relative equal lows here during London session that were swept, and yeah, we wouldn't have been able to enter this. Like I think if we were using like a 1 minute time frame unicorn model, maybe you could have found something. But for 5 minutes, I was just like, let's just try and hop in when on this initial unicorn model entry from before. Kind of looking for longs unless we see something otherwise. So there's a potential breaker. There we go. So last green candle before the move to the upside is our breaker. We had a big overlapping fair value gap. So we can do a long here on a retest, stop at the body low, and let's see if we need to go beyond our 2 standard deviations. That gives us only 1.21R, so let's extend this up a little bit further. I'm just going to go for this kind of local high. The 1 hour high is pretty far away actually, so it's a 7R. I don't need to go for home runs. We'll just go for this base hit, see if we can catch a kind of 2R, place order. Let's see if we can catch a 2R win to this upside. Okay, it already hit our take profit, so I'm going to go and just cancel the order. It might end up working out, but we'll just cancel it. Yeah, would have stopped us out. So unfortunately hit the take profit before. No fill before TP. So yeah, right idea, just didn't get tagged in before it ran to our take profit on this day. We have a new breaker right here. Last green candle before we formed a lower low with an couple overlapping fair value gaps. I'll just extend it out because we have 2 candles right there. So let's see if we can do an entry on a retest here. Stop at the body low and see if we can catch it now kind of on the second attempt. We got tagged in. Unfortunately, hit a loss. Alright, so this next day we had some relative equal highs to the upside, and we also have some relative equal lows to the downside here. So this is going to be a little bit more of a risky trade. I would much prefer to wait to take the long until we take out this low. But we do have here our manipulation breaker right here, fair value gap that overlaps. So we have everything in place for our unicorn model entry. So we'll give it a shot, even though, like I said, I'd prefer to see that other draw get taken out first. I think we're going to need to target the high, a little bit beyond it actually for the 2-to-1. So we got tagged in, hit our 2 standard deviations, and there we go. There we have a manipulation to the downside. Last green candles right here, pretty big. Fair value gaps right here. So projecting the manipulation leg out. 2 standard deviations right there. Probably going to use the bodies of these. It's not quite 2 standard deviations, so we'll go a little bit further. See if we can catch this. There we go. So had to wait a little bit longer. This would have been pretty frustrating to see us go that close But yeah, to get the 2-to-1, we had to extend it out a little bit further. But yeah, manipulation, breaker block with fair value gap, and had our draw to the upside, just had to extend a little bit more to get the 2-to-1. Do we have any draws on liquidity? Potentially one right here. These lows right here. And no, it took that high. Maybe these guys right here. So potential draw to the upside and downside. See if we can take that high, manipulate, form potential unicorn model. Okay, 62.25. We have not closed below it yet. No, we did. So we have our breaker here and overlapping fair value gaps, like a bunch of them actually, like 3 in a row. So potentially enter on a retest here, stops the body high, project out our 2 standard deviations. It's not quite 2R, so maybe we'll just go a little bit further to try and get 2R. 2R is right about here, a little before this demand zone right here. Let's see if we can catch this. Okay, unfortunately, it's a very quick loss. It's all good. So 1 loss. And now we have another potential attempt. So we have now some more local relative equal lows to targets. And we have a breaker here with overlapping fair value gap. I just say, yeah, it's both of these candles technically. So entry there, stop at the high. Our manipulation's probably not going to give us 2R, so we'll go down to this low for a potential 3R. Second attempt. Yeah, fortunately, a couple losses today. Just we're fighting the trend a little bit. It's all good though. We had the draws in place, and we'll take the trades. And unfortunately, if they don't work out, it's all good. We had some fair value gaps fighting us here. This trade was coming into these pretty bullish fair value gaps. It's much better usually when we have when we're not immediately coming into those fair value gaps. So that could also be something we look to invalidate in the future. All right, so going to this next day, we still have these relative equal highs up top for a draw, but it's pretty far away. See if there's anything more local. These guys are pretty close. I think maybe right here, these kind of 2 highs. So maybe a more interim high we could potentially target. And see if we had any unicorns prior to market opening. Looks like there's a bit of a manipulation leg right here, a potential breaker, and we overlap it with this fair value gap. I think we could probably just give this one a market entry, to be honest, by 1 more candle. There's basically right before market open. So a little risky doing market open, but see if we can give this one a shot, given that we have the kind of unicorn model before open. I think we definitely need to target this high for the 2-to-1. So we'll see if we can just catch a market entry right at open with this unicorn model. Nice. Sweet. Yeah, so we had the draw in place. We'd had a manipulation a little bit earlier that formed the unicorn model and is pretty much right at open. So nice win for this one. Okay. Breaker. Everybody got short on the breaker. Stop at the high. Let's target these lows down here. All right, well, I think we officially have our 100 trades. So we'll take a look at the analytics now. That was a lot. Yeah, I mean, it takes time to do this, but I hopefully, now that I've done it, you guys can see a little more reasonable sample size with this. And, I will definitely say this isn't going to be perfect. Usually at this point, if you guys haven't seen my kind of backtesting playbook video, usually at this point, I'll go back and like audit all the trades, make sure that, I used consistent rules for all of them, didn't miss any trades, stuff like that. Like when I did this my first run through, there's definitely going to be some missed trades, probably some trades I recorded slightly incorrectly, but for the most part, it should be like pretty reasonable, within plus or minus 5% of this win rate, and yeah, like something reasonable within this risk to reward. Like we have 100 trades, so probably a little imperfection, but at least like a pretty reasonable sample size. And yeah, like can't complain at all. We know ICT's. I know quite a few people that trade ICT's Unicorn Model almost exclusively, so I know it is a profitable model. And as we can see, just in this first run through, without really a whole lot of optimizations, almost 55% win rate, 2.33 average R. Some trades we were able to get a little bit more, going for that draw on liquidity or, targeting a little bit more. But yeah, overall pretty nice, nicely increasing equity curve. 55% win rate. We're going to have some loss streaks, and win streaks, of course. I remember taking five losses in a row and it was like, man, just keep eating them. But that's, part of the game with at least like a roughly 50% win rate strategy. You're going to have some loss streaks. And then looking through the rest of the analytics, pretty similar results between the buys and sells, slightly higher with buys versus sells, but nothing super material. I do want to look at the performance by time because I do think there are some insights from that. So let me put this on New York. I was noticing like later in the afternoon, the trades were a lot less profitable. So after I filtered this on New York now, you can see it really isn't worth trading after like 1 o'clock. So I think if you were going to trade Unicorn Model during New York session, you probably would only want to trade the first 4 hours. Seems like after that, it really drops off. We can look at the win rate and really see, I think they have a 0% win rate if you took it the last hour, 44 and 29% win rate, but just not a whole lot of trades. So because of that, there just wasn't a whole lot of profit. Like it was actually not profitable to trade those last 2 hours. So save yourself some time. And I do think this is actually true in any session. I was looking around for a few of the guys that trade this, and they predominantly trade Unicorn Model near like session opens. So I'm not surprised to see a vast majority of the profits come in these first kind of couple hours and then tapers off a little later in the day. So you could also potentially only trade this the first hour, but obviously going to miss out on a little profitability. At least the first 4 hours looks reasonable for it. Looking at the performance by day, pretty much every day was profitable. Fridays were definitely not as good as the rest. Wednesdays were quite good with it. So again, as you start to build this up, you might get more insights on, maybe you just want to take Fridays off and take the day off, or maybe potentially Wednesdays, so we can maybe up the ante, do a little more risk, or something like that. And then performance by month, again, this isn't going to be perfect. So like I said, after I audit this, I would imagine like I'll probably, lose a couple 1 to 3% per month. Maybe if I, took some trades that I shouldn't, or maybe I didn't quite stick to my rules 100%. But overall, seeing pretty consistent returns each month. Our worst month was like, just up slightly, but we had some really killer months in double-digit returns. These are 1% is 1R, the way I backtest. So this is super solid returns for basically August through, I don't know if I got quite through all of February, but looking at about 7 months, we were able to get almost 80%. And so again, you're not gonna this is probably like a little better than it's going to be. Plus, as you execute it live, you're not going to hit all of this perfectly, but a really solid base model that you can definitely play around with. And again, like I said, at this point, I would definitely be like doing some optimizations, audit all the trades, optimize them, see what I can find. I was definitely noticing quite a few trades where like I didn't get that retest. So maybe there's a potential secondary entry trigger you can consider, similar to what we looked at with the Venom model. Another thing is if you were looking for reversals into like a huge fair value gap against you, those trades definitely seemed a little lower probability. I wasn't taking into consideration any like high time frame bias or session highs and lows. So you could definitely add a lot of filters and context to even increase the win rate more if you add a bigger picture. But this is just the base model, kind of just looking for those kind of relative equal highs and lows and just trying to target them kind of regardless of what was going on in a higher time frame. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to see more of these. We're testing out a few different things, so hopefully you guys got to see a lot of examples, more than the first video we did. I think we only got through like 8 trades, yeah. So definitely a lot more trades and hopefully a little bit more data for you guys to take a look at. So yeah, let me know if you guys liked this video, and hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you guys later. Bye.